This is beautiful. Man, I'm really getting into this game.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
I'm gonna get all the collectibles.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Here's the new
What could it
content
mean?
we were looking for.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh, my bucket!
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Yay! Yay! My companion bucket! Okay, a bit of privileged lines there. Oh, thank God for the bucket! It says store 1416 again.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Yeah, me and my bucket are gonna relax in the employee
And
lounge.
here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
Quite. Where's the collectibles? I want collectibles.
Truly, being here with the bucket was a grand adventure.
Oh, quite.
Stanley reflected on all they'd been through together. First, walking through the door on the right. Then walking to the lounge. Then arriving at the lounge. What a thrilling journey the bucket had inspired.
What a thrill.
What a thrill.
Oh, yeah. Got that right.
Perhaps this was where the bucket felt most truly at home. Here in the employee lounge. Perhaps it's the only place a bucket can even feel at home.
Oh, quite. There's something to think about. Something to ponder about for a whole infinity, even.
Stanley decided to just give the bucket absolutely as much time as it needed to be in the lounge. Clearly, the bucket and the employee lounge shared a special connection.
Ah, yeah. Feel the ambience, bucket. I'll make you some coffee. And by give you coffee, I'm just gonna, like, pour coffee into the bucket. Does that count as us drinking coffee? Or maybe you're more of a tea person. I prefer tea myself. I don't know. Maybe the coffee just needs more... The bucket needs more coffee just for caffeine or something like that. Look at that plant. Look at that ocean. Reminds me of my other home in the Hebrides.
But finally, the bucket was done being in the lounge, and they took the first open door on their left to get back to business. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
The sequel is now paused. My days. The sequel is now paused. the adventure line with my bucket. Yes, let's do this.
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
Oh, he knew? He knew? What?
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley.
What?
We've come together here because we care about you very much.
The baby? The
It's
wife?
this bucket you're carrying around everywhere.
What?
The bucket
My friends.
isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line
Adventure
and the
Line.
Broom Closet.
They're all
Because
here.
that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of
Closet.
their favorite jokes, not
Hey!
this bucket that they've never seen before.
What?
Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want
like a
another
brand new
story
bucket.
involving the Adventure Line?
I
We
do.
could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the
Yes.
fans want. Let's do it.
Yes! Dun 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 dun.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
Yes! Dun 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun.
Now this is what the Stanley Parable
No,
is all about.
continue the music.
Don't you remember all those great
Please.
jokes from the original
Oh,
dialogue?
definitely.
Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then.
Oh.
Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this.
Ah, yeah.
But if we want to do that,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
going to
yeah,
have to
yeah.
give something up.
No, don't tell.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket.
No!
That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
No! No!
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable.
No!
True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't
No!
you agree?
No! But
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you.
No.
Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
this is exactly like the first Portal
Now listen
game.
to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The Broom Closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
What the? Sorry, I was honestly trying to get the bucket, like burning the companion cube. We reached heaven.
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it
Heavenly
squandered
choir.
now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here,
I'm sorry.
you were magnificent.
Rest in the heavens, Bucket Destroyer. Rest in the heavens. That was interesting.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
The thing is missing.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
I'll say. What's this? Okay. Get off messing around. Okay.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Where should we go this time, Bucket? Let's say we... How about the Zending? Should we do the Zending? How about... Oh, I know.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
I found a collectible! I found a collectible! Look, there's a collectible!
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember,
Hey!
no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Right. Collecting them will be a journey, will be a reward in itself. Good, good. I'm so glad that exists. Right. Let's try this ending again. What the frick?
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know.
What, the Australian
I've
guy?
lost track.
What?
Nothing feels real anymore.
What? What?
The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up.
So there's new endings every time I
No
pick up
matter
the
how
bucket.
many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
What the aliens? Supernatural alien stuff? What the frick?
All of his
What
co-workers
the
were gone.
frick?
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
I have an idea. What if we do that escape thing? I have an idea. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
How can we find them? How can we find the collectibles? Okay. To my concern, I managed to pick up some sounds unusual to our regular office ambiances or local audio sources using an array of cardio. What the frick? And also the recordings allowed me to triangulate the sorts of strange noise. What the frick? Bedroom. Employee 416. There will be an award for finding all of them. There will be. Inside a sequel exhibit. Large room, lots of boxes. Oh, so there's clues. Somewhere both red and blue. Nearby a fireplace. A private but smelly place for an important person. The toilet. I know where to go.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you?
Yes.
The aura of jealousy?
No.
It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket.
No.
I can really feel it now. It's a
My
bucket.
bucket.
It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket.
Never.
I know how hard it must be,
Never.
given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over.
No.
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 We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stan, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends?
What do you mean?
That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Right, this bucket is my companion because he's the closest thing to having a consistent companion. It's the companion cube. This bucket is a reference to the Team Fortress
Okay,
soldier.
I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go.
Ah!
There. Now it's settled.
Excellent.
No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
Quite. Beat it. Stairs.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Found it.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
There we go. Now, I know where the other ones are. There's one that's a rather smelly place. It has to be in here, right? Gotcha!
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanlerines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in
How
the
about
corner of your
Stanley
screen
Reeds?
go up by 1? Let me sit on
Stanley
it.
Reeds.
I'm sure it will come to me.
Stanley Reeds. I would recommend Stanley Reeds. So I've collected quite a few already. A fireplace. Where is the fireplace? Me and my bucket. We're gonna go places. And the it's getting all jazzy. Yeah. Just sing along. I like his singing. That was fun.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Aha!
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler Anlarines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler Anlarines. None of us can.
Now, where could the last one be? I think it's in probably the other side of the building, but maybe it's in the meta ending. I'll have to try the meta ending. Fireplace. Could it be the meta ending? Let's try the meta ending.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket.
Well, quite.
Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right.
Well, quite.
The bucket is here for you, Stanley.
Thank you.
Everything will be fine.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would... But of course, Stanley and the bucket thought better of it and realized they simply had too much to live for.
What if Stanley the bucket falls down the pit?
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. But just as Stanley was about to proceed further into the mind control facility, he tripped and fell over the railing and into the dark void below. Thankfully, he fell directly onto the bucket, which safely cushioned his fall.
Woohoo!
Now, what to do next, Stanley wondered. Stanley and the bucket could find no way out of this enormous pit, and so
Right.
eventually they decided that the best thing to do would be to simply get comfortable down here. So they set up a little couch and relaxed. It really wasn't so bad down here, a bit cold perhaps.
Okay, the bucket's got all like the gag endings.
After some time had gone by, they installed a few shelves as well, and a sort of
forming a family
kitchenette
together.
that was useful for when the bucket was craving
Roommates.
paninis. But it wasn't until the rugs and the standing lamps came in that it really started to feel
Very
like a
good.
home. In fact, after some time,
all the
Stanley
books,
realized that it had
all
been
the
ages since he had
scriptures you could
even
ever
thought of the mind control facility at all. He'd never gotten to fully explore what was up there, never been able to unearth the many mysteries of the mind control facility.
We didn't really need to.
This lack of closure began to eat at him. Soon he was dwelling on his regrets, and the state of their home slowly decayed as Stanley became withdrawn and neglected the cleaning. It unsettled the bucket deeply. Stanley wasn't usually like this. The bucket tried to reach out to him again and again, but to no avail.
Oh, quite.
All Stanley could think about, all he could talk about, was going back, doing it over again, staying on the path.
Yes.
It was a mistake to leave the path. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. I need to do what the narrator says. I need to see the true ending.
I need it.
This made no sense at all to the bucket, which was simply trying to live its life down here as comfortably as possible. Yet Stanley was unconsolable. This isn't an ending. This is just a hole in the ground. The bucket sighed. True, it wasn't an ending. But it's where we happen to be. And maybe, possibly, if we accept the reality of things, maybe this will become an ending eventually.
Quite.
It's what the bucket was counting on. The two of them waited for a very long time.
And so they found comfort in each other, yes. Red and blue. I know where it is. I know where the last...
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was. Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home.
Come to me, Stanley. My property. Mine. My own.
Stanley clutched the bucket
No one
tightly
can have
to
it.
his chest. This was not
Mine.
the correct way to the meeting room.
We need
But
to find the
Stanley had felt the
figurines.
bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact.
He's my
He was
friend. I
firmly
won't
convinced
question
that the
it.
bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Oh, really? Are you sure about that? Somewhere blue and red.
No, stop! Look there on the wall, you see? There's a sign right there. It says, "No buckets past this point."
Oh, no!
Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here?
Oh, no!
Unless...
I wasn't
What if the
observant
problem
enough.
is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it.
Oh, quite.
This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly.
What
So
is...
much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Okay. What is it, the bucket? Is this a bucket?
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
What?
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 3. Is this a bucket?
No.
Incorrect. This is a bucket.
I pressed it. It's a bucket. What? What?
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you
Right.
for not making me look like an idiot.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
next one.
You're welcome.
Is this a bucket?
No.
Incorrect. This is a bucket.
What? How is that a bucket? How is that a bucket? How is that tractor a bucket?
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Trick question. Both.
What?
Gotcha.
What? What? What?
Item... Wait, hold on. I
I
can't
don't
find
have
the
a
next one.
trick
Let me see,
question
it should be around here
bucket.
somewhere.
Button. Bucket. Ah! What? Yes.
Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here.
What?
And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket?
You know, you should ask secularists if they really believe nothing created everything. Yeah, that's right. Is nothing a bucket? How could nothing be a bucket? If nothing is a bucket, then a bucket is still something and not no thing. It's the same thing with that whole ending with, like, Stanley getting squashed by the two blocks. People mistakenly think that Stanley is in a midst of nothing, but he's not in the midst of nothing. He's in a dark, empty limbo. And Stanley can only do something about it if he can restart the game. You see, the darkness that Stanley experienced after being squashed by the two blocks in that one ending, even though that is empty darkness, that is still something. That's not no thing. No thing is not an empty darkness. You see what I mean? Infinity does exist in the Stanley Parable.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective.
Oh, quite.
What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart.
Yes.
I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
No.
Okay, here we go.
No.
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait,
Everything's a
was
bucket.
everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all.
Aha.
And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either.
Aha!
Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets.
Yes.
Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right
Ah,
now.
yes.
It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue.
See?
But it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what. I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay?
Okay.
And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person?
Well, quite.
All right, here we go.
See, my theory was correct. When Stanley was getting squashed by 2 blocks, he was experiencing something, not nothing. Stanley was still there. Stanley still had the power to restart the game. My theory proved correct. Infinity exists in Stanley Parable. Yes, I was correct. I really am a smart cookie. This game's
All of his
affirming that.
co-workers were gone.
So,
what could it
that
mean?
balloon's a bucket.
Stanley decided
That's
to
a
go
bucket,
to the meeting room.
clock's a
Perhaps
bucket,
he had
the
simply
computer's
missed
a
a memo.
bucket, that chair's a bucket, that window's a bucket, the light's a bucket. That's a bucket. That's a bucket.
Stanley
That
picked up
pedestal's
the
a
bucket and
bucket.
smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around.
It's a bucket.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Okay, something... Okay, we need to look at the hints again. I was trying to go for the hint, like, somewhere red and blue. I was trying to go for, like, the red and blue door, but then that whole bucket thing happened. Oh my days, that's got to be one of the funniest things ever. Somewhere both red and blue. Nearby a fireplace. Oh, I already did the fireplace one? Oh, of course, I get it, yes, it was the, putting in the code, yeah, that's what they meant by near a fireplace. Somewhere both red and blue. Red and blue. Red and blue. I think... Where could it be? Where could it be? Red and blue. Red and blue. It must be... the meta ending, right? Wait. No. Where could it be? Where could it be?
All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate.
Yes!
You see? I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket.
Yes!
That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket.
It's a bucket.
There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
That's right.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
You mean Stanley and the bucket walked up to the bucket? That's the logic this frickin' game is taking me! Oh my days!
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
I'm trying to think. A place that's... I'm trying to think. A place that is... Where's the place that's red and blue? That's where the last figurine is, right?
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Red and blue. It can't be the mind control facility. It has to be this way.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Red and blue. Red and blue.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Right, this is the museum ending. See, there's the two giant blocks that squash people.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be.
No!
To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket. But what
The
use is a sense of ease when you're about to be
acknowledges the
crushed to
existence of the
death?
soul.
This is what Stanley thought to himself.
I'm about to
And he sort of
embrace the
kicked himself for
infinite.
wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous
Female
metal
narrator to
jaws.
talk about
In
the
a
narrator.
single
The
visceral
bucket.
instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death.
Here is the meta ending.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
My bucket's gone! Welcomes you to the grounds exhibit. You are standing at the precipice of knowledge. Much like a bucket itself, the human mind is frequently empty within the carnivorous void. Cavernous void. But through the use of the exhibit in front of you, the mind becomes full and enriched and substantiated. Knowledge of the bucket and its history is the only true knowledge we really have. Will you take what you learn here with you into the world? Will you accept with an open mind what may be challenging about the information in this exhibit? Will you change the lives of yourself and your loved ones as a result of the exhibit? Will you turn a blind eye and continue to live as you were in ignorance and darkness? Oh, the horror.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Freaking bucket! Oh my days, this freaking bucket! Having two handles. Such a design has never been created in real life. Having been deemed too dangerous. Recklessly experiment. Well, it would crush your fingers. Every year dozens are put to death just for death. What is this? What is... What is this? That's not 25 buckets. That's more than 25 buckets. Unless they're just repeating the same kind of photos again and again. The photographer experienced catatonic shock for several weeks as a result of the euphoria from exposure to the many buckets. What? Infernal bucket. What the frick? What? What? Having judged humanity to be worthy of what the frick?
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
What? What the frick? What the actual frick? People freaking worship this bucket. The bucket is in everything. Hold on a second. What the frick? What the frick? The new meta ending.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
now.
Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together.
Yes!
The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as
The
commander
bucket shall
of a new
reign
world,
supreme.
a new vision for...
Notice how in this weird dark limbo, we're not experiencing nothing. We're experiencing something. We still exist even after we get crushed.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together.
Somewhere red and blue.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Red and blue. I'm gonna try something. I don't know where that last one is.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did, you can... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
I need to stop this before I get insane.
It's like they're